There's something in the pan. Ah, a picker, a small gold nugget. It's still early morning. I'm half asleep. But it's cool, so I drove to a creek that was recommended to me. The claim owner was actually there and allowed me to spend a few minutes on his claim. This is what the creek looks like. Here's a rock wall and there's a quartz vein with a crevice in the rock. Indeed, this is the result. A decent picker. Great. California gold.
Okay, California gold.
On January 24th, 1848, James Marshall found a small gold nugget like mine, maybe the size of a pea. He was overseeing the construction of a sawmill on the banks of the American River. The water channel needed to be deepened again. They were almost at the bedrock when suddenly golden metallic grains became visible. Was it gold? A huge memorial for James Marshall. However, without a Swiss, the great gold discovery wouldn't have happened. Marshall built the sawmill under the commission of John Sutter, a Swiss immigrant. At that time, California belonged to Mexico. The Mexican government gave Sutter large tracts of land which he named New Helvetia. Mexico feared losing California because Americans were making claim to it. Sutter built a fort at the confluence of the Sacramento and American rivers about 45 miles west of Marshall's sawmill. Behind me is the fort of Johann August Sutter, or John Sutter as he is known here. This is where James Marshall rushed in 1848 with the pea-sized piece of metal to determine with John whether it was really gold that he found. After the news leaked, John lost everything: land, health, he became an alcoholic, and honor. 152 years later, he also lost his statue. It used to stand here on this slope. It was dragged away in 2020 under the accusation that John Sutter was a colonizer. The historical perception of America's pioneers has fundamentally changed, from heroic and romantic to focusing on minority concerns. Undisputed is, Marshall and Sutter wanted to keep the gold discovery a secret, but the news leaked out. My theory is, it wasn't Sutter who was problematic, but rather James Polk, the then annexationist president of the USA. He deliberately leaked the gold discovery in a speech before Congress. His ulterior motive, to colonize the land wrested from Mexico. The idea struck like a bomb. The greatest gold rush in history started. In 1849, 100,000 people came, and within 5 years another 200,000 followed. California was born. Why is California so rich in gold? California lies between the boundary of the Pacific and the North American plate. This tectonic activity led to the formation of the ancestral Sierra Nevada billions of years ago. This first mountain range was possibly up to 23,000 feet high. Constant volcanic activity favors hydrothermal gold deposits, for example, lode gold. Around 50 to 60 million years ago, the climate was tropical. Vast river systems pour from the Sierra Nevada into a sea located at present-day Sacramento. These rivers were as big as the Orinoco or the Upper Amazon. Its sediments accumulated to a thickness of up to 600 feet. These old gravel layers were later partially covered by volcanic activity in a renewed mountain formation. So today they often lie under layers of rock. We call these sediments paleochannels, ancient channels or tertiary channels. This is why we have three types of gold deposits in present-day California. They have to be mined in different ways, as we will see. The names of the gold-bearing rivers that drain from the Sierra Nevada sound magical to me and trigger gold fever. Feather, Yuba, American, Stanislaus Merst. The Highway 49 is named after the 49ers, the gold prospectors from 1849. The road leads along the Sierra Nevada foothills and through the Mother Lode gold country. I drove that highway from south to north and occasionally went panning for gold. The paleochannels, these million years old ancient river sediments, cross the present-day rivers occasionally. The rivers were especially rich at these localities through gold rush times. This is Illinois Bar on the South Fork Yuba River, early in the morning at 7:30 a.m. Behind me, downstream, lies a massive bedrock ledge, and upstream lies a gravel bar. It extends upwards for 100 to 200 meters. This gravel bar was damped by the rock ledge. Here, over thousands of years, a huge amount of gold accumulated.
Worden vom Bedrock-Riegel und da hat sich über Jahrtausende enorme Volumen an Gold.
170 years ago, the content of a gold pan was said to consist of 1/3 of gold. Crazy, right? This is a pan with over 10 gold flakes, and the pan is quite small. The first gold seekers of 1849 searched for gold in the gravel bars of the numerous rivers. Their gold panning equipment was simple: rocker or cradle and long tom, channels with built-in cross ridges where the gold stuck during the washing process. The gold seekers were the first white men from the eastern USA, but then also blacks, Chinese and Europeans joined in. A true melting pot. The Chinese were excellent at turning the river. Their stone piles are still visible today. If you go to California for gold prospecting, it's best not to bring your gold panning equipment from Switzerland. The offer here is greater. When I spent the first night in Mariposa, a stack of such online ordered cardboard boxes awaited me in the room. Inside there was a plastic gold panning sluice from Sluice Fox, a very clever model. Of course, a gold pan, a crowbar, that would be far too heavy in the flight luggage, and a magnet. I brought boots and a flight cap capable vacuum sucker from Switzerland. Finally, you need a shovel. You can buy one, for example, at an Ace hardware store. Now we're ready for gold prospecting. Since I'm on my way to Yosemite National Park and there's a GPAA claim here, we want to try it out.
Are you looking for gold?
Yes, it's a GPAA claim.
It's GPA claim. I was just trying to see if you were a member.
Okay.
It wasn't 5 minutes before the first GPAA member showed up. Derek.
How's your name? Derek.
Derek goes gold prospecting without boots, directly with water shoes. I'll do the same next time. I pried a stone out of the embankment with this mini crowbar. It works pretty well. Wow, it's supposed to be 104 degrees today. Indeed, there are small traces of gold, but really very little. What a magnificent landscape! No, this is devastated land, all man-made, reclaimed by nature but still dangerous 140 years later. We are at Malakoff Diggings. It is the second largest hydraulic mine in California. 6,500 feet to 3,000 feet and 600 feet deep open pit mine. When the river gold slowly ran out, the prospectors began to search up the small creeks on the side. And they found nuggets on the hills. They discovered the paleo channels, these old gravel beds of the ancient rivers which were partially covered by later volcanic eruptions. The ancient Yuba River was particularly rich. Where the paleo channels were exposed, hydraulic mining began as early as 1852. Huge water monitors were used to wash off the ancient gravel and flush it into a sluice, where the gold was extracted from the gravel using washing, but also using mercury. Miners quickly discovered that the gold in the paleo channel was not evenly distributed. The lowest layer was the blue gravel and was the richest. That gravel actually had a blue color because it was chemically in an oxygen reduced state. When exposed to air, it turns red. In order to get to this 600 feet deep layer, a horizontal tunnel was drilled through the rock and vertical shafts. 8 monitors were in use simultaneously. 500 pounds of gold emerged monthly. But the washed gravel flowed down the Yuba River. As far as Sacramento, the rivers were filled with silt. Cities had to raise the levees along the rivers by up to 16 feet. They were called walled cities. Farmland was flooded. Some farmers sued the North Bloomfield Company and won. Hydraulic mining was only allowed in a closed circuit. After the de facto ban on hydraulic mining in 1884, the era of drift mining began. Drift mining had already been developed earlier. The miners drove horizontal tunnels into the rock, the drifts, in order to access the rich layers. With a bit of luck, they came across the blue gravel. This mining technique was also suitable for paleochannels covered by volcanic eruptions. Such drift mine was the Ruby Mine near Forest in the famous Allegheny Gold District. In the 1930s it belonged to Clarence Best, the head of Caterpillar. He didn't urgently need the output and preserved the 159 largest nuggets found there, a total of 1,000 ounces. The largest nugget, 52 ounces, is softball size, was exactly between bedrock and gravel. Finally, in 1902 dredging began. Folsom near Sacramento was a typical dredging field. Here gold was mechanically washed out of the gravel of the American River over a field of more than 9 times 6 miles to a depth of up to 100 feet. In 1916, 11 dredges were active. The last dredge ceased operations in 1960. Only a few gravel piles remain of the dredging fields. The raising land prices made it profitable to renaturalize the land. The gold of California is not only found in the rivers and the ancient paleochannels, but also in the mountains. The gold seekers quickly found out. As early as 1850, 2 years after the gold discovery at Sutter's Mill, mining for gold began, hard rock mining. The Kennedy Mine near Jackson is located in the most productive gold district of the Mother Lode Belt. The gold-bearing quartz vein in the mountain was up to 200 feet wide. From the tower where the entrance to the 6,000 feet deep shaft was located, we look at the spot where the stamping mill stood. The gold-bearing ore was crushed into powder and recovered on mercury tables. In the main building, the mercury was recovered in a retort, the gold amalgam melted into bars and taken to the mint in San Francisco. The opposite of the Kennedy Mine is Allegheny. Here there are so-called high-grade pockets. Not only in the drift mines in the form of fist-sized nuggets, but also in the hard rock mines. The gold from Allegheny is crystalline and very popular among collectors. The deposit is extremely rich, but very erratic. After so much mining, it's time to go gold panning again. Where to? Of course, to the Yuba River. Gold panning in California is not that easy. Gold panning is only allowed on a valid mining claim. You can see where claims are located and who owns them on the website of the Bureau of Land Management. There's something really visible, and that with only a quarter hour of shoveling. Pretty good. The easiest way is to become a member of gold seeker clubs and organizations that hold claims for their members, such as the Gold Prospectors Association of America or Ranky Mining. Out in nature, you must watch out for the ubiquitous poison oak. This shrub, which the Indians used for tattooing, causes an extremely unpleasant itching rash and skin blisters when touched. I do not consider bears to be dangerous, provided you exercise the necessary caution when handling food. 40% of the USA's public land, free camping, called dispersed camping, is allowed there. To determine whether public and private land is located, it's best to use a good outdoor app. Also not to be underestimated is the summer heat and plenty of thorny plants if you want to descend into the pathless valleys. Often you find yourself in a former wildfire era. A particularly charming gold rush town is Downieville in Sierra County. In November 1849, gold was discovered here and the town was named after William Downey. The gold deposits were so rich that only very small claims were made, 30 to 30 feet. In 1850, a 25-pound nugget was found. At that time, Downieville had 5,000 inhabitants. Today, 300.
Yeah, I think good. Hey, partner.
Another drink for me. Other side of the street.
Gotta make sure these fellas get out of town.
Okay.
Let's move it on.
All right.
On.
Sorry about that.
Damn cheater!
Holster that gun, mister. Das ist ja schon etwas, wo jedes Goldsucher höher schlagen muss. Schau mal an das. So viel Goldsucher. Enorm.
Right hit the fountain. And then I fall.
Zum Beispiel so super Sniper-Suche. Oder portable Kindwäsche bzw. Heimbänder. Mark, thanks that you have time for me.
Always.
Yes. You are one of the guys from Keen Engineering.
Yeah, well, you know, we're a family-owned and operated business. And
Okay.
It amazes me. We've been in business now for 74 years. You know, I'm
Wow.
actually third generation in the business. My brother and I we're pretty hardcore gold miners. We actually go out and use all our stuff. You know, and if you look, like, here's a couple examples of some equipment that we're putting together. This is kind of one of our newer sluice boxes that we come out with. You know, take and shovel material here as fast as you can, pretty much. And there's no need to classify. But in a more of a chaotic environment, I'd rather have carpet expanded metal in a riffle, because what happens is the gold always is constantly migrating more back into the corners. It's getting embedded by the carpets and things like that. Mixing up a riffle, it really makes a big difference. If you look here, you know, I've got a black rubber red matting, and that's not a bad catch. It won't hold the gold for real long, but what it will do is it's a good indicator mat, and it will capture gold there too.
Yeah.
But having the carpet with the expanded metal, having the miracle mat, having a combination of different riffles, tends to work really good in a big variety of conditions, you know. And then you can even take it to convert it into something like this. So if you have like a really calm water situation. But you know, at our shop, my brother and I, we're pretty passionate. We enjoy the business. We enjoy our customers. And I'm proud to make things in America, you know. Look, I'm just the kind of guy, I want to be outdoors. I want to go hiking, biking, camping, fishing, mining. I want to do it all. So that's my style. But we have fun at it.
Great, thanks. Mike, I see this funny pan here. Would you win a World Gold Panning Championship with this pan?
Absolutely. In fact, I'd probably win the universe gold panning contest.
Okay.
We always have to answer two questions. Number one, is there any gold here? Number two, is it any better than the last place I checked? Because we want to find the best place to start processing our gold. So we're going to put a shovel load of dirt in a banjo pan, shake it nice and loose, and then down the neck it goes. Just that shaking action is going to allow the gold to sink down into the mat that's in the neck of the banjo pan. To get it out, we're going to take, and I just poke my finger through the bottom, and that loosens up the mat, unlocks it, and we'll put it into the pan part of the gold, the banjo pan. So we can use a pullback method. It's just like paddling backwards. You see how the water rushes in, makes a little vortex on there, and pulls the light material out. Now, once we get it down to about a tablespoon of material, we're going to pull it back into our pan. When we get it back into the pan, we're going to be able to see back here whether or not we have any gold. I'm settling all the gold together, and now, boom, just like that, look at all that gold. So if we've got a lot of concentrates, that's where we go over to the gold cube.
So this is a concentration machine.
Yes,
it's not to shovel in gravel from the river.
It actually can. We have a couple of accessories that you can actually shovel right into them. The gold cube can take 1,000 pounds an hour of screen material, or less if you don't want to work that hard. So 1,000 pounds an hour, and what's happening when it goes down inside there is it drops down into our G4 separator. The G4 separator actually puts everything under the water. So if all that material is going under the water, the gold can no longer float. Now when we do a cleanup on this, you see how it's easy, it just all comes apart. It just sets together. And you can see right in this area right here, you can see some gold all up in there. There's a lot of little pieces up in there. This is called rub your belly, pat your head. This is rub your belly, and this is pat your head. And watch what happens with the material that's in there. It's actually going to start loosening up the black sands. The gold is going to go way up into the top. See how it's getting way up into the top there? Okay, so that's really pulling that gold out now. There's a lot of gold in there. Now watch what happens.
That would have been a good 1 hour shoveling.
Yeah, right. Real fine gold up in there. Now watch what happens when the surface tension comes up to the gold. All of a sudden, the gold's going to pick right up and float. Isn't that crazy?
That's
the gold that your machine got here.
Yeah.
That no problem.
This proves two things. Number one, gold can float. And
Yes.
number two, I caught it in the first 2 or 3 inches of my machine. My machine will stop all that because of the G4 separator, putting everything underwater. Once that gold gets underwater, it's an anchor. It's no longer a boat.
great. Thank you very much for
Come
the
see us,
demonstration.
goldcube.net.
Larry, it was nice to meet you here at Downieville Gold Rush Days, and I got the impression you are really a keen engineer and a smart guy. You developed these things here. Quickly explain
Sure.
what's going
So
on here.
this is a high banker, a dredge, and a sluice all in one. This is a high banker deck right here. It's removable. Take that off. I can take the legs off. I can take the crash box off. Then I can run it as a sluice. Put your material, water runs through, put your material runs through. I simply take the dredge header, put it on. My dredge hose comes in here, and I can be back with the nozzle, and I can dredge into the unit. So this is a true all-in-one. It's a high banker, it's a dredge, and a sluice, and it was designed for maximum portability. The whole system is designed to fold up into itself. Very low profile design. Right over the matting. This is our fluid bed sluice box. It's probably the lightest, most efficient fluid bed sluice box on the market. It's 21 inches. Our core product, which is down here, and what we started with, that everybody loves and wants, this is our 2-inch backpack dredge. It's extremely portable. It works off of a 2-inch nozzle with industry standard hoses. This is a 1 1/4 inch hose. This is 2-inch output going into the unit for processing. And it's operated by a 3,700 gallon per hour bilge pump, which you can see right here. Anything that fits in that 2-inch nozzle, here's the nozzle not connected to the hose. Anything that fits up in that opening is going to get sucked up through the hose and processed. This is the first chamber we call the main chamber. This is the nugget trap. This will capture 90% of your gold. This will capture gold as small as 200 mesh. The beautiful thing about the whole system is your dredge, your pump, your hoses and battery, you're under 20 pounds. This was designed for the prospector that wants to go far and access gold you otherwise couldn't get without having to carry in super heavy equipment. And it also allows you to go to places and spot check to see if it warrants bringing in bigger, heavy equipment. This is the Goldilocks Backpack Dredge. Thank you for your time.
Great. So, how much time did you need for these 13 grams?
This is about 5 hours.
Okay, great.
5 hours on a good place.
Roger, we met at the Downieville Gold Rush Days. It was very nice to meet you. We had good talks, and you explained me a very, very interesting thing. I always thought dredging is forbidden in California. What is it really?
It was never really outlawed. There's back August 8th, 2009, it was outlawed, as they kind of say, but it was temporary moratorium. The temporary goes on to this day, 12, 13, 14 years later, whatever.
Okay.
And it continues and will probably never quit. It will probably never be legal again, but it was really never outlawed. Temporary moratorium.
New type of dredging is coming on. It's called reclamation dredging. What's that really?
It basically fits with the 5356.8. The thing is, for legal purposes, we want to kind of act like we're environmentalists or something of that nature, and that is the point of it. The reclamation dredging, we are removing mercury, lead, other toxic metals possibly that may be in the river. There's car tires, aluminum cans, steel cans, nails. These are all pollutants. Iron pollutants. They're not normal. So all that kind of stuff we're removing. Mainly lead and mercury, though.
Okay.
That are the kind of serious ones.
Okay, so in fact you're cleaning the river.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
For free.
For free. Yes.
No, it doesn't cost the government anything. We'll do it for free.
Okay.
Of course, we kind of like the gold too, so we'll keep that.
Okay.
676767. First number is 437-6767.
I win this?
Yeah. Right.
That's awesome, man.
Hello, I'm John Sutter. When I emigrated 1834 from Burgdorf, Switzerland to the USA, the last Swiss professional gold miners were just working the Aare River. I didn't go for the gold, you know. My businesses. That cursed gold. In 1848 they found gold on my land. Another business ruined. Don't talk me about gold. John Sutter lost everything. Land and honor. Triggered by this small gold nugget. Losing the most beloved or the most important thing on earth can happen to any of us. John Sutter couldn't overcome it. His decline began. On the other hand, this small gold nugget also brought about much positive change. The rise of California into a prosperous and innovative land. Small things or small decisions can have a long-term impact. For me, it happened over 30 years ago when a woman approached me and spoke about Jesus Christ. My subsequent small decision for him had a great effect in retrospect. At my core, I am an egoist. Looking back, I see how the way I love people has changed within me. I am able to love even egoists, and peace or joy has filled my heart. Have you found your small gold nugget today? Then look up and say, as Niklaus von Flue could not have said it more clearly. Jesus, take everything from me that hinders me from coming to you. Jesus, give me everything that leads me to you. Jesus, make me entirely your own.